This lecture demonstrates method overloading. Whenever you define multiple methods with the same name in the same class but with different set of parameters, you can call it as method overloading. For example, in the same class you define all these methods and all these methods are having same name, but the first method is having no parameters, second method is having one integer parameter, third method has one string parameter, and the fourth method has one integer parameter and one string parameter, and the fifth method has one string parameter and one integer parameter. Like this, you can define any number of methods with the same name in the same class, but you must maintain some difference in the method arguments. So the benefit is that the developer who is going to call this method will have several options. He can pass various types of arguments. That means he can pass no arguments, he can pass one integer argument, and he can pass one string argument, and whatever defined here. So the overall benefit of method overloading is the developer will be having choice of arguments while calling the method. But the rule that you must follow while defining the method overloading is all the methods under method overloading must have same name but with different parameters. You cannot define any two methods that have same name in the same class with same type of parameters. Here, parameter names doesn't matter, but parameter types only important. For example, you have created a method that is with a parameter called int x. You cannot create another method with int y parameter, because in this case, int and int parameter types are same. Even the parameter names differ, that is x and y, that is not a valid method overloading. For example, in the product class, we have already created a method called calculate tax that will calculate the tax based on the cost. See, I am going to create another method with the same name, but it has two parameters, that is cost and percentage. So whenever you supply two argument values, that is cost and percentage, in that case the second method of calculate tax will execute. But in case if you supply only single argument, that is percentage, then the first method of calculate tax will execute. So the developer has two choices, right? Either he can pass single value, at that time the first method will execute, or he can pass two argument values. In that case, the second method will execute. So this choice of calling the method is the benefit of method overloading. I am defining the code same as previous, but instead of calculating the tax based on the cost field, I am calculating the tax based on the cost parameter instead of cost field. And also I am changing the condition. If the cost is less than or equal to 50,000, then cost is 5%. Otherwise the cost depends on the percentage. So we have created two methods with the same name in the same class, that is calculate tax. But the first method has only one double parameter, but the second method has two parameters, that is double and double. So if you supply a single double value, then the first method will execute. But in case if you supply two double values, then the second method will execute. I am calling the calculate tax method, but we have two options, so it is showing one of two. That means we have two method definitions with the same name. One is calculate tax with only one parameter, that is double. And we have another method with the same name, but that has two double parameters. And don't think like both methods should have same double parameter. You can use any type. For example, it can be int, it can be string, it can be char, it can be any other class name. You can use any types for the parameters. So in case of third object, I am trying to call the second method definition of calculate tax. So I am passing the argument value for the first parameter, for example 10,000, and percentage is 3.4. So in this case, instead of calculating the tax based on the actual cost field, it will calculate the tax based on the cost parameter that you supply, that is 10,000 in this case. So how it will execute is, since you supply two values, that is 10,000 and 3.4, the calculate tax method that is ready to receive two arguments will be executed. That is the second method of calculate tax in this case. So instead of checking the cost field, we are checking the cost parameter. And the actual cost value, that is 10,000, is less than or equal to 50,000. So at that time it will calculate the tax as 5% as per the code. And the same gets assigned to the tax field below. So that is the reason with respect to third object, we got the tax as 500, that is 5% based on 10,000. In real-time projects, whenever you want to create multiple implementations of the same method based on the arguments difference, then you should implement method overloading. That means if the developer passes one set of arguments, one type of implementation should execute. But in case of other type of arguments, then other implementation should execute. Just like in our example, if the developer passes only one value, the first method will execute. If the developer passes two arguments, then the second method will execute. So multiple implementations of the same method with respect to parameters is a case where exactly we have to use method overloading in real-time projects.